Greetings, ladies and gentlefish, and welcome to this pair of light tank replays. Both of these are going to be in tier 7 light tanks, and they're both going to be tanks that you don't see that often on my channel. So we are kicking off proceedings with the Type-62. What's the Type-62 chip? I hear some of you cry. This is the Chinese premium tier 7 light tank. Now, it's not actually available for purchase anymore. I don't really know why. It's not as if it was ever particularly overpowered or anything like that, but all the same. And it is being played for us today by Frost Death, not to be confused with Heat Death of the universe. And he's here on Malinovka, which is a very nice map for a light tank who wants to get some spotting done, and that's exactly what Frosty here is going to do. So, basically, he is in this bush. He's spotting all of the enemy team. Now, he was actually trying to do one of the light tank number 15 missions, so his equipment seems to reflect that. Binos, camo net, for example. And, fair warning, this is generally going to be one of those passive scouting replays where someone sits in a bush for bleeding ages. So if you find that really boring and you have no interest in watching this, by all means fast forward to the second replay, which will be a little bit different because this is going to be quite a long game. Now, the matchmaking isn't exactly friendly. Well, it depends what you're looking for, really. It's a tier 10 game, so this is pretty much the worst matchmaking the Type-62 will get. And obviously that means if you want to damage these guys, that's going to be difficult. This gun has... It's an 85mm gun with 180 average damage, 145 penetration with armor piercing, which is not very good. That pen goes up to 220 with heat ammo, which is the premium round for this gun. The flip side is, while you struggle to damage people, if you're interested in assistance damage, tier 10 matches can be a dream because there's loads and loads of targets for you to shoot. Now, thankfully, Frosty's team is not doing what I've seen teams do so often on this map. You get a light tank, go forward, get themselves into a really good spotting position, and then all of their team just grinds to a halt as they shoot the targets who have been lit up. And in reality, that's really bad because it means you are still sitting at base, you are giving away map position, and it just ends poorly. Thankfully, Frosty's team here are actually pushing up. They're taking the hill, and all of that jazz. And the enemy team were really caught out, still really being in base at the time. Now, and you could see Frosty is exercising fantastic trigger discipline, not firing the gun when he had, for example, a potential kill on that ISU-152, because firing his gun makes it a distinct possibility that he will be spotted. This is a patch 9.10 game. I mention that because the T28 over there still has 1150 health. As of patch 9. I think it was 13, but don't quote me on that. The T28 received a buff to its health pool, among other things. Ditto for the Ferdinand. Is there a Ferdinand in this game? There is on the friendly team, so he doesn't. The Ferdinand now has more health than it did, and ditto actually for the Jagdtiger. Now, if we look at the score screen here, it is 4-7. That is not a particularly good start for Frosty's team, and the enemy team have gone across the base. Sorry, across the open field, and despite the fact that Frosty has been lighting them all up, they have made it to the friendly base, which is a little bit worrisome. Actually, Friendly Artillery is saying the Type's doing a great job. Why is no one shooting the things he's spotting? Well, to be fair, people are, but I take his point. Considering how many of the enemy Frosty is lighting up here, and the fact that it's a tier 10 game, it's actually surprising how little fire is coming towards these guys. Now, I'm not saying that no one is shooting them, but just that it's surprising how few people are, like I say, given the fact that Frosty has basically lit up the entire enemy team at this point. Still not pulling the trigger though. Frosty is clearly a relatively experienced light tank driver. He knows that if he pulls the trigger, he's probably going to get spotted, and he doesn't want that. And to be fair to them, the friendly team have even the scoreline up a bit. It's now 6-7, and there are one or two of the bad guys who are on quite low health. In particular, that IS-7. Really frustrating, of course, that Frosty doesn't want to pull the trigger. Because, well, 11 health, side shot. The IS-7 has pretty good side armor, actually. But all the same, it must be very, very tempting. I know from experience that it's very tempting. But there we go. So the scoreline is now 7-8. That 11 health IS-7 is still alive somehow. IS-7 over there on slightly more health is still alive. Finally, the friendly artillery, the bat chap, nukes the 11 health off of that IS-7 and kills him. Now, slightly worryingly, there were 4 tier 10 tanks on the friendly team, and there are 4 tier 10 tanks on the enemy team. However, of the ones on the friendly team, it's only the artillery remaining. The pair of IS-7s and the tier 10 waffle thrower have all gone to a better place. Scoreline, however, is even, but if you look at the tiers available, it's looking a little bit dubious. Not only does the enemy team have more tier 10s remaining, they also have fewer tier 8s remaining. And so if you look at the friendly team here, effectively, you've got 3 tier... well, let's just count the light tanks as being 1 tier higher than they are, because that's how they're match made. You have, never mind, 3 tier 8 tanks, 2 tier 9, and a tier 10 artillery playing off against 4 tier 9 tanks, 1 tier 10 and 1 tier 10 artillery. Had to, of course, change what I was saying as the friendly artillery takes out that IS-7. And you can see here that Frosty has actually swapped to his heat ammunition, 220 pen, to try and get some penetrations on people. Now, the fact that it's heat ammunition is a little bit dodgy, because of course heat ammunition can be defeated fairly easily with things like spaced armor and tracks, of course. And the enemy IS-7, apparently with absolutely no sense of irony or self-awareness, is complaining about Russian bias. I'm sorry. What nationality is your tank? Is it Russian? Ah, some people do make me laugh. So, Frosty has now switched position. He's trying to spot guys in the friendly base. There's the RU-251, not spotted anymore. Scoreline is 9-10. And we've used about half the time allotment of this game. And Frosty is playing this very, very patiently. And by all means, at the end of this particular video clip, as I've asked you to do with others, why not just feel free to pause the video for a second and take a guess at how much assistance damage you think Frosty has racked up. It's a fairly impressive total. Lose another tank and the scoreline is now 9-11. This is difficult to win given the tanks that are remaining on each team. Now you might be saying, does Frosty really need heat ammo? Well, if Frosty ever wanted to take a shot at the side of that E75, the E75 has something like 130mm of side armour, but once you take into account any sort of angling that might be going on, the presence of tracks and all of that jazz, I have bounced off the flat side of an E75 from a fairly respectable range with 170 pen before. So really, to reliably penetrate the flat side of an E75, you're probably looking at 180, 190 pen and upwards. And of course the armor-piercing rounds on this gun have about 140, 150 pen. So actually, to penetrate the side of an E75, yes, you do need the heat ammunition from this tank. Now, of course, this is in contrast with the... oh, there's some nice shots coming in. The WZ-131, the regular Tier 7 Chinese light tank, gets a far... well, it gets a choice of 2 guns, actually, and they are much better than the 85mm gun on this tank. In fact, the 85mm gun on the Type is basically the one of the intermediate guns on the WZ, and actually, historically, if memory serves, I think the Type and the WZ at 131 are the same tank. They're just different designations for it. So the scoreline is 9-11. All the tier 8s on Frosty's team are dead. Well, I guess if you classify the Type as a tier 8, then it's still alive, but you know what I mean. Meanwhile, the enemy team still have an awful lot of machines remaining. And there's really no shots coming onto this E75. Now, If I were Frosty, I probably would have lost patience with this position. The problem is that if Frosty moves, we don't know where that Centurion is or where that T110E3 is, and it's possible that he would get spotted. At that position, he could probably afford to fire, as he's double bushed to the E75. Ooh, RU goes down. Now, I mean, firing does decrease his camo rating, but he's still got a camo net, so he'd probably have been okay. I mean, that Centurion's only just been spotted, ditto for the T110E3, and if he'd been able to kill that E75 a bit sooner, maybe his team could have pushed up a bit faster, but swings and roundabouts. I can see why he was reluctant to do so. And actually, the E75 eventually dies to the friendly E75, who, credit where credit is due, is now on 4 kills. So it's now Frosty, this E75, and the friendly auto-loading Batchat artillery, facing off against a Centurion 7-1, the IS-8, a T110E3, and the British Conqueror Skypig. Oh, this looks bad, this looks bad, this looks bad. But thankfully, light tanks, good enough mobility to get themselves out of trouble. If Frosty were in a heavy tank at that point, he probably would have just drowned himself. So, Frosty does not need the heat ammunition for a Centurion Mark 7. But there we go. One shot in. It's what he's got loaded, so let's not worry too much about it. And the Batchat actually shotguns the Centurion for his last bit of health. But then dies. So Frosty now finds himself outnumbered 3 versus 1. With the 3 being the T110E3, Conqueror gun carriage, and IS-8. Of course, this is a 9.10 replay. So this is before the IS-8 got buffed and redesignated to the T10. T110E3 there is on 149 health. That means that if Frosty can penetrate a shot, that should be a kill on that tank destroyer. Now, of course, the guy is pointing the front of his armor toward Frosty here, which basically means Frosty has 0 chance of penetrating to all intents and purposes. However, the T110E3 turns his side on, Frosty goes for a blind shot on the move and takes the fellow out. So that just leaves the artillery and the IS-8. Now, this is where things get a little bit tricky. The artillery, it's the Conqueror gun carriage. That means it's mounted on the chassis of a Conqueror tank, which is a heavy tank. What I'm getting at is that the Conqueror gun carriage actually has some armor. And so it can bounce shots, especially from light tanks. So there we go. And he's still got his heat loaded. The problem with the heat ammunition is that against the IS-8, the IS-8 being a Soviet tank has sides made of spaced armor. So basically the heat ammo is only going to go through the front and the rear of the tank. But 220 pen should be enough for the frontal armor. Frosty is moving up. There is 1 minute 57 left on this game. Conqueror gun carriage. Heat rounds will not go through those obstacles, of course. Bounce. Like I said, the Conqueror is based on the chassis of a heavy tank. Frosty is exposing as little of his tank as he can. Puts a round into the Conqueror gun carriage. The Conqueror's gone off. And for some reason, Frosty leaves the cap circle. Now, I say for some reason, this is where things get a little bit dodgy. He manages to kill the Conqueror gun carriage. He didn't need to circle the guy because the guy had already fired. But the flip side is that it meant the IS-8 couldn't get shots from the other capture circle onto him. And if you look at how the capture counters were going up, the IS-8 was in the enemy base, Frosty was in the... the IS-8 is in the friendly base, Frosty was in the enemy base. And the capture counters were actually going up at the same rate. Basically, the game would have been a draw if Frosty had just sat in the capture circle, essentially. Conqueror gun carriage is complaining about gold ammunition. Oh, sod off. So, we know the IS-8 is in the capture circle. Frosty here is trying to spot the guy. Shouldn't be too difficult to spot. There he is. Pull back. 220 pen should be enough for the frontal armor of the IS-8. Oh, the IS-8 puts a shot into Frosty, but Frosty has the reload. And that shot doesn't penetrate because screw you RNG. Another round. 220 pen is still enough for the front of the IS-8. Come on, Frosty, you have to go. You can take another hit. Just go and kill him. Takes the shot, repairs the track, front of the armor, 150 health, 180 average damage, and of course it bounces. One more shot into the side of the pike nose. Come on! No. And that's the game. Now the thing is, Frosty didn't actually want to die there, which I totally understand because he had Light Tank Mission 15 selected, and the requirement for the secondary conditions are that you survive, I believe. Or the mission he had selected required him surviving. That was a very unlucky bounce right at the end there. The ISA wiggled the front of his tank, or turned the front of his tank at exactly the right moment to deny Frosty what should have been a relatively straightforward penetration. Unlucky. There we go. Let's go and take a look at the post-battle results for this game. So, that was a pretty painful draw. Ace Tanker, Fire for Effect, Defender, Patrol Duty. And you can see that's an awful lot of cash, but we'll get to that in a moment. 1,070 damage done, 2 kills, 2,086 base experience. Base. And now take a guess at the amount of assistance damage you think Frosty got. Got a number in your head? Good. 15,973. And because the Type-62 is a premium tank, it makes a lot of money. 200 and basically 4,000, courageous resistance, 212,000 credit income. He fired some heat rounds, but even after you've taken the ammunition costs away, with a premium account, that was a 165,000 credit defeat. Holy Mother of God. Throwing courageous resistance and whatever, and that was 3,755 experience on a defeat with a premium account. Woohoo! That was quite impressive. Now, there were some bits where I think Frosty was perhaps a little bit passive or didn't take a risk where I think he should have done, but I understand why he didn't. And either way, that really is one of those games where, well, you look at the score screen and you think, I came first. Second was a Ferdinand who had to do over 4,000 damage in a bottom tier tank. Third, E75, almost 4,000 damage and 4 kills in a tier 9 machine. You have to get until position number 4 before you find the first of the team's 4 tier 10 tanks, and he's driving artillery. You then find the tier 10 waffle thrower in the bottom half of the team as the second of the tier 10 tanks with 1,600 damage and 2 kills in a waffle thrower. The IS-7 just managed 1,000 damage, and the other IS-7 only managed 800. So that was a monumental failure from the tier 10 tanks on Frosty's team, with the notable exception of that artillery. In contrast, the enemy team, IS-7, almost 5,000 damage. Conqueror gun carriage, over 4,000 damage. The others, not so much. Commiserations to the enemy Spy Panzer, who got 6,500 assistance damage. And no one won that game. I always think a draw is the worst result possible because no one wins. Everyone goes home a loser. It's really frustrating. Anyway, there we go. That's the first game. Let's move on to our second. So I mentioned both of these games are going to be tier 7 light tanks, and they're going to be machines that I haven't shown that much on my channel. We started, of course, off with the Chinese Type-62. We're now moving over to the German SP1C. Now, I do actually have a review of this tank on my channel. I put that review out just after the tank was released. It replaced the old Aufklärungspanzerpanther. And, but since I put that review out, this tank has received a little bit of a buff, and some people do like it. I'm still not a huge fan, but there we go. So, this is a tier 8 game, which is the best matchmaking you're going to get in tier 7 light tanks. We're here on, I can't remember the name of the map, Steppes, there we go. And this is going to be a very different sort of game. You can immediately see, for example, that we are top tier, as I mentioned, so this is not a tier 10 game. And this game is going to be far more about damage done than it is about spotting. Now, it's being the tank's being played for us today by Smajl8592. I'm just going to call him Smaj. And there's a selection of usable guns on the Sparpanzer 1C. He is opting for the 3-round autoloader. So you get 240 alpha damage, 180 penetration with this gun with the AP rounds. Premium ammo is heat, and that bumps the penetration up to 250. And you also have some HE rounds, 320 alpha, 45 penetration. Now there's several things you may immediately have noticed about this gun. Firstly is that the reload time between shots, considering the fact that it's an autoloader, is actually relatively long. And that's one of the reasons I did not like this autoloader. The other thing is that the shell velocity is absolutely terrible. This is true on most of the guns on this tank. I think 2 out of the 3 guns. But you'd better get used to it because the RU-251 is the same kind of deal. Now, Smaj actually takes that shot from third person, which I think was a little bit of a mistake. I would have aimed that one. Another shot from third person. I mean, he makes the shot work. In that case, against the Indian Panzer, he even gets a tracking shot, but I would have gone into sniper mode just to make sure. I think in that situation, you'd have been fine doing so. M41 Walker Bulldog on the enemy team, that's an American Tier 7 light tank, of course, also has the option of taking an autoloader. That autoloader, however, is a bit ridiculous. Smaj pops out, puts a shot into him, Walker Bulldog misses his shot, Smaj puts in another one, and that's a really good trade. And there we go. I think Smaj should have aimed that shot properly, but that's a pretty good trade. A Smaj trades an average of 480 alpha for only one 75mm shell in return, or 76mm, however big the gun is on the Bulldog, I can't remember. Indian Panzer is now alone and isolated and dead. 2 shots left in the autoloader. And Smaj looks like he's looking for flanking shots into this Tiger 2. Stock Tiger 2, poor guy, which means the turret is kind of weak. Not that that really matters in this particular scenario. 1 shot. And 2 shots. And other people are coming around as well. And then the Super Pershing bounces. Now, this Tiger, he's not traversing his hull. He's only traversing his turret, which is just not how you do things. And he winds up very, very dead. If you need to outturn a light tank or someone who's trying to circle you, turn your hull and your turret at the same time. You traverse faster that way. And you can shoot people sooner that way. But what are you going to do? So, magazine loaded, and there's an OI. Now that guy you have to pay a lot of respect to. If he's using the derp gun, and it looks like he is, that OI can really, really wreck face. Now, Smaj didn't really aim that first shot properly. And the third shot completely misses because the guy died, but there we go. Reloading the magazine. Sparpanzer and Bulldog on the enemy team appear to be going pell-mell for artillery, but it's okay, because the friendly team has a Tiger P defending the artillery. I always hate it when I see that, but what are you going to do? Might actually be useful this time round, who knows? No, maybe not. They just lost the M40, M43. Smaj is going back. Ooh, manages to dodge a shell there. Smaj is going back to do something about these guys. But 2v1, it's a bit of an awkward situation. However, if these guys are going to be distracted by other people, that might be better. Sparpanzer puts 1 shot into Smaj. Smaj puts a shot into the Sparpanzer. And then the Sparpanzer gets nuked by the M12 artillery piece. 2 rounds left in the magazine. Smaj is looking for someone to put them into. That was flanking shots into the Oni. Oh, he straightens out again to make it flanking shots again and keeps it flattened out so that Smaj can put both of those rounds into his flank. Nicely done. Reloading the magazine here. And Smaj is coming in, looking for shots into the side of the Oni's turret. Oh, that's not a good shot. What about the other Oni? Is the other Oni going to give him something to shoot at? Oh, there we go. The original Oni gives him nice shots into the side. There's 1. There's 2. Woohoo! Smaj finally picks up a kill, but he gets spotted, so let's back off. And if I was Smaj here, oh, indeed he is, I would be reloading the magazine. Now, Smaj has burnt through all of his armor-piercing rounds, so he's down to the heat ammo to penetrate these guys. And he is going for the flank and then gets caught out by an enemy M6. He can take 1 shot from this M6 if he has to. Again, he's going for these third-person shots. I don't really like the number of third-person shots Smaj takes, I will be honest. Like that shot. Finally, he goes into sniper mode and then bounces. Because screw you. But Smaj takes a lot of shots in third person. Now, in some situations, that's a sensible thing to do, but in a lot of the situations that Smaj is finding himself in, I think he would have been better off if he had aimed the shots properly. That's just my personal opinion. M6 again. Smaj puts a round in. The M6, however, is basically ignoring Smaj here, which is a terrible idea, because Smaj... Oh, no, he's turning his gun around. There we go. and he executes the M6. One shot left in his autoloader. I would be reloading here and running away from this 110. The reload time on the magazine is not hugely long here. As it is, Smaj just bounces off the front of the 110's turret. Smaj could have reloaded the magazine, gone around the side without being spotted, and then gotten the 110 from behind, which I think would have been the better play, but never mind. This is Smaj playing, not me. Now, however, he's going around the side, but he gets spotted in the process, and so the 110 knows he's coming. How much the 110 can do about it? Well, that's a matter of opinion. And Smaj is actually not even going for the shot. I mean, at this stage, there's artillery, there's a Super Pershing, there's Smaj. They've got this guy banged to rights. Just risk the shot. Oh, never mind. The game is over, you might as well. Anyway, there we go. End of game. Let's go and have a look at the results. So, here we go. That was for Smaj. Ace, Tanker, Spotter, Bruiser, Fire for Effect, High Caliber, and Confederate. Much more about the damage there than about the spotting. 4,247 damage done, 2 kills, 1,545 base experience, outstripping anyone else on either team, either by damage or by XP. Commiserations to the enemy 110, who racked up over 3,000 damage. The rest of his team just weren't particularly good. 30 shots fired, 24 hits, 18 pens. I think Smaj could have done a bit better with using sniper mode a little bit more, but there we go. Who am I to criticise? I mean, this is a fantastic result. Most of that damage was from relatively close range. Received 4 hits, of which all of them penetrated. I mean, the only thing surprising there is that it took 4 shots to kill Smaj. But it's not surprising that he didn't bounce anything. It's a light tank after all. 1 enemy tank spotted, 9 damage, 2 killed, 1,520 assistance damage into the bargain. With a premium account, that was a 26,000 credit profit, despite having to fire a few heat rounds because he ran out of ammo otherwise. And even with a standard account, that would have been a few credits into the bargain. So, there we go. That was the Sparpanzer 1C. Hope you guys enjoyed that pair of light tank games at tier 7. A couple of machines you don't necessarily see that often, and I haven't shown very much on my channel. In fact, the Type-62 has never featured on my channel. Hope you guys enjoyed them. If you did, by all means feel free to catch some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel, and I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao, ciao.